The Galactic Council chambers echoed with the chittering laughter of the Zephyons as ambassador. Sarah Chun stood before the massive assembly. Their crystalline forms sparkled with what she had learned to recognize as amusement, though it felt more like mockery. The Kraxan delegation's tentacles writhed in what passed for their version of snickering, while the towering Vorthok simply rumbled in their deep, dismissive way. "Humans," spoke Chancellor Vextel, his voice resonating through the translation matrix. "You claim to seek membership in our council, yet you bring nothing of value? Your technology is primitive, your military weak, and your species ... double quotes." He paused dramatically, unremarkable. Sarah maintained her composure, though her jaw tightened. Behind her, the small human delegation shifted uncomfortably. They had traveled across 3 star systems for this moment, hoping to secure Earth's place among the galaxy's governing species. Instead, they faced ridicule from beings who had mastered interstellar travel. While humans were still discovering fire, the Nexari representative, a being of pure energy contained within a mechanical suit, flickered dismissively. "We have observed your species for decades. You wage war among yourselves, consume your planet's resources without thought, and lack any significant technological achievements. What could you possibly offer the galaxy?" A ripple of agreement passed through the chamber. The assembled aliens had already decided Earth's fate before the humans had even spoken. Sarah had prepared for skepticism, but the open contempt was harder to bear than she had anticipated. "We understand your concerns," Sarah began, her voice steady despite the crushing weight of their dismissal. "Humanity may seem unremarkable by your standards, but we have qualities that aren't immediately apparent in your scans and observations." "Such as?" The question came from Commander Threx of the Zeta Collective, his multiple eyes focusing on her with predatory interest. "Your emotional instability? Your tendency toward violence? Your short lifespans that prevent any meaningful long-term thinking?" The chamber erupted in what could only be described as alien laughter. Sarah felt her cheeks burn, but she pressed on. "Our adaptability, our resilience, our ability to form bonds that transcend species barriers ... Chancellor Vextel's form shimmered with what the translation matrix rendered as scorn. "We have observed no evidence of your species forming meaningful relationships with any other sentient beings. You barely tolerate each other, let alone other life forms." Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but Admiral Zorak of the Dominion cut her off. "Humans are a failed experiment in evolution. Weak individually, chaotic collectively, and utterly lacking in any redeeming qualities that would benefit galactic civilization. We see no reason to grant your species even observer status, let alone full membership." The weight of their judgment pressed down on the human delegation like a physical force. Years of preparation, humanity's hopes for joining the galactic community, all crumbling under the aliens' dismissive assessment. Sarah felt the dreams of her entire species slipping away, but she refused to give up. "You speak of strength and civilization," she said, her voice growing stronger. "But you judge us based on incomplete observations. You haven't seen what truly makes humanity unique." "And what would that be?" Chancellor Vextel asked, his tone suggesting he was humoring her out of politeness rather than genuine curiosity. Sarah straightened her shoulders, drawing on every ounce of dignity she possessed. "Our partnerships. Our ability to work with other life forms in ways that elevate both species. You claim we show no evidence of meaningful interspecies bonds? But that's because you've been looking in the wrong places." The Kraxan delegates' tentacles curled in what the humans had learned was their equivalent of a dismissive wave. "We have studied your planet extensively. The only other intelligent species you've encountered are us, and clearly that contact is not going well." "Intelligence isn't the only measure of worth in a relationship," Sarah replied. "Sometimes the most profound bonds form between species of different types entirely." The chamber fell silent for a moment, various alien species processing this statement through their translation matrices. Finally, Commander Threx spoke, his voice dripping with condescension. "Are you seriously suggesting that your species has formed meaningful partnerships with the primitive creatures of your world? This is becoming absurd." Perhaps it's time to end this charade. Sarah felt the moment slipping away, but she had one more card to play. Before you make your final judgment, I ask for one small favor. Allow me to demonstrate what I mean. Grant us 48 hours to show you something that your long-range observations couldn't capture. Chancellor Vextel's form flickered with what might have been irritation. You waste our time with delays and theatrics. What could you possibly show us that would change our assessment of your primitive species? Something that will fundamentally alter your understanding of what partnership means, Sarah said, her voice carrying a confidence that surprised even her fellow humans. Something that will show you why underestimating humanity might be the greatest mistake the Galactic Council has ever made. The aliens exchanged what passed for glances among their various species. The request was unusual, but their curiosity was piqued despite their dismissive attitudes. After a brief deliberation conducted in frequencies the human translation devices couldn't interpret, Chancellor Vextel spoke. Very well. You have 48 of your hours. But understand this, when you fail to impress us, as you surely will, humanity's application for council membership will be permanently denied. Your species will remain isolated on your small world, cut off from galactic civilization forever. Sarah nodded solemnly, though inside she felt a spark of hope. Understood. But I think you'll find that 48 hours is more than enough time to change your minds. As the session adjourned and the aliens filed out, still chittering and rumbling with amusement at the audacity of these primitive humans, Sarah activated her quantum communicator. The message she sent was simple, but it would set in motion events that would shake the very foundations of how the galaxy understood partnership, loyalty, and the true strength that came from bonds forged not in logic, but in love. The human transport ship Friendship materialized in the space near the Galactic Council station exactly 36 hours after Sarah's message had been sent. The aliens monitoring the approach vectors noted its unremarkable design and modest size with typical disdain. What they didn't expect was the unusual energy signatures coming from within the vessel. What are those readings? Asked Technician Zilkar of the Nexari delegation, his energy form flickering with confusion as he studied the scanner displays. I'm detecting multiple life signs, but they're different somehow. Chancellor Vextel materialized beside him, his crystalline form refracting the station's lights as he examined the data. Explained different. The neural patterns are unlike anything in our databases. They're clearly biological, but the brain activity is unlike any sentient species we've cataloged. The patterns are simpler than human consciousness, yet there's something organized about them. Through the massive observation windows of the council chamber, the aliens watched as the human ship docked. The airlock cycled and Ambassador Sarah Chun emerged, but she wasn't alone. Behind her came 6 other humans, each wearing specialized suits that seemed designed for rapid deployment. But it was what followed them that caused a stir among the watching aliens. Are those creatures? Commander Threx's multiple eyes focused with sharp interest as he observed the beings that emerged from the ship. They moved on 4 legs, covered in what appeared to be fur, with elongated snouts and alert, pointed ears. Each was roughly half the size of a human, and they stayed close to specific humans with an almost militant precision. Some sort of biological construct, perhaps? Suggested the Vorthic representative, his massive form rumbling with curiosity. Though I detect no artificial components. Admiral Zorak's scanner readings showed even more interesting data. They're completely natural, but their neural patterns show an unusual synchronization with the humans they're near. It's almost as if their minds are connected somehow. The human delegation made their way through the station corridors toward the council chamber, and every alien they passed stopped to stare. The creatures moved with fluid grace, their heads turning alertly at every sound, their nostrils flaring as they processed scents that the aliens' technology couldn't even detect. Most remarkably, they seemed to anticipate their human partners' movements, adjusting their pace and position without any visible communication dot in the preparation chamber adjacent to the main council hall. Sarah knelt beside a magnificent German shepherd whose dark eyes held an intelligence that seemed almost supernatural. "Ready, Max?" she whispered, running her hand through his thick fur. Max's tail wagged once, and he pressed his head against her shoulder in a gesture that somehow conveyed more understanding than words ever could. Nearby, Dr. James Rodriguez checked the equipment harness worn by Luna, a border collie whose intense gaze seemed to catalog every detail of their surroundings. "The translation matrix is working perfectly," he reported. "They'll be able to understand what we're demonstrating." Sergeant Maria Santos adjusted the tactical vest on Rex, a Belgian Malinois whose muscled form radiated coiled energy. "How much do we tell them about what these guys are really capable of?" "Everything," Sarah replied firmly. "They want to see what makes humanity unique? They're about to discover that our greatest strength isn't our technology or our intellect. It's our ability to forge partnerships that make us more than the sum of our parts." The aliens in the main chamber grew restless as they waited. Their initial amusement was giving way to curiosity, though most still expected this demonstration to be merely a curiosity rather than anything genuinely impressive. "Perhaps they've brought some form of primitive livestock," suggested the Kraxan delegate, his tentacles writhing with what might have been anticipation. "Many species keep other life forms for food or labor. The energy readings suggest these creatures are more active than typical livestock," technician Zilkar reported. "Their neural activity is quite intense, almost as if they're processing complex information." Chancellor Vextel's form shimmered with impatience. "Whatever theatrical display they've prepared, it cannot possibly address the fundamental flaws in their species. Humans remain violent, short-lived, and technologically primitive." The massive doors to the council chamber opened and the human delegation entered. But this time, the atmosphere was entirely different. The humans moved with a confidence that hadn't been there before, and alongside them, the 6 four-legged creatures padded silently across the polished floor. Their presence seemed to fill the vast chamber with a new kind of energy. Sarah stepped forward, and Max moved with her, his position perfectly calculated to be both respectful and protective. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "You have judged humanity based on our individual capabilities and our interactions with other sentient species. But you've missed the most important aspect of who we are." "More delays in speeches," rumbled Admiral Zorek dismissively. "What are these creatures, and what relevance do they have to your failed application?" Sarah smiled, and there was something in that expression that made several of the aliens shift uncomfortably. "These aren't just creatures, Admiral. Meet our partners. Our friends. Our family." She gestured to Max, who sat beside her with perfect discipline, his alert eyes scanning the assembled aliens with calm assessment. "This is Max. He's a German shepherd, a member of a species we call Canis familiaris. Dogs?" The words seemed to puzzle the translation matrices as they struggled to convey the concept across multiple alien languages. "For over 15,000 years," Sarah continued, "humans and dogs have worked together, lived together, and evolved together. They're not our servants or our tools. They're our partners in every sense of the word. And what they've taught us about partnership, loyalty, and cooperation has shaped our entire civilization." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward with Luna at his side. "You analyzed our species based on our conflicts and our limitations. But you missed our greatest achievement. We took 2 completely different species, human and canine, and created a bond so strong that we've become something greater than either species could be alone." The aliens in the chamber leaned forward with growing interest. The neural scans of the creatures, the dogs, were unlike anything they'd encountered. The bond between human and canine was visible in their synchronized brainwaves, their coordinated movements, and something else that their instruments could detect but not quite quantify. "Impossible," breathed Commander Threx, his multiple eyes darting between his scanner readings and the scene before him. 2 species with completely different evolutionary paths, different neural structures, different sensory capabilities. Yet they're somehow functioning as integrated units. Sarah's smile widened. You haven't seen anything yet. Max, demonstrate. What happened next would forever change how the galaxy understood the meaning of partnership, and why underestimating humanity would prove to be the Council's greatest mistake. Max rose from his sitting position with fluid grace, his dark eyes never leaving Sarah's face. Without any visible signal from his human partner, he began to move through the council chamber with purpose that seemed almost supernatural to the watching aliens. His nose worked constantly, processing scent information that the aliens' most advanced sensors couldn't detect. "What is it doing?" Chancellor Vexthal asked, his crystalline form flickering with confusion as Max approached the Kraxan delegation. The dog paused, his body language shifting subtly as he focused intently on one particular alien. "He's working," Sarah explained calmly. "Max is a detection specialist. He's trained to identify specific chemical signatures that indicate various conditions or substances. Right now he's telling us that Delegate Threshkar has elevated stress hormones and traces of a stimulant that isn't native to your species." The Kraxan delegate's tentacles writhed, with what the translation matrix rendered as shock. How could this primitive creature possibly detect my physiological state? Our bioscanners show nothing unusual. Dr. Rodriguez consulted his tablet as Luna moved to join Max, her border collie intelligence evident in the systematic way she began scanning the chamber. Dogs have approximately 300 million scent receptors compared to our 6 million. They can detect odors at concentrations nearly 100 million times lower than humans can perceive. But more importantly, they can be trained to recognize specific scent patterns associated with diseases, emotional states, and even intent. Intent? The word rippled through the chamber as various species processed this impossible claim. Sergeant Santos stepped forward with Rex at her side, the Belgian Malinois radiating controlled power. Rex here specializes in threat assessment. He can identify hostile intent, concealed weapons, and aggressive behavior patterns long before our technology picks up any signals. Rex, scan. The dog began moving through the chamber with military precision, his training evident in every step. As he approached the Vorthek delegation, his posture changed subtly. His ears sharpened forward, his muscles tensed almost imperceptibly, and he positioned himself between the humans and the massive alien representatives. "Impossible," rumbled the Vorthek commander. But there was uncertainty in his deep voice. "There is no technology that can detect intent before action." "You're right," Sarah agreed. "It's not technology. It's something far more sophisticated than anything you've developed. It's a bond forged through millennia of evolution, training, and mutual trust. Rex isn't reading your technology or your brainwaves. He's reading micro-expressions, pheromone releases, body language cues, and dozens of other signals that even we don't fully understand. And he's doing it because he trusts us enough to put himself at risk to protect us." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. These weren't just trained animals. They were living early warning systems, biological sensors more sophisticated than anything the galaxy's greatest minds had created. But that was only the beginning. "Luna, demonstrate search protocol," Dr. Rodriguez commanded softly. The border collie immediately shifted into a different mode of operation. Where Max had been focused on detection and Rex on protection, Luna became pure intelligence in motion. She began systematically examining the chamber, her movements precise and methodical. Within minutes, she had located 3 concealed recording devices that the aliens thought were undetectable, 2 hidden weapons carried by various delegates, and a secret communication device that the Zephyrian delegation had been using to coordinate their responses. "Your creature has just compromised our security protocols," Admiral Zorak said, but his tone carried respect rather than anger. "Our stealth technology is among the most advanced in the galaxy." "Luna isn't using technology," Dr. Rodriguez explained, pride evident in his voice as the dog returned to his side. "She's using intelligence, training, and senses that evolution spent millions of years perfecting. But more than that, she's using something your species have never developed: absolute trust in her human partner and unquestioning dedication to a shared mission." Captain Elena Vasquez stepped forward with Bella, a golden retriever whose gentle demeanor seemed at odds with the tactical demonstrations they'd witnessed. You want to know what makes humans unique? It's not our weapons or our ships or our technology. It's this. Bella approached Chancellor Vextel's crystalline form without fear, her tail wagging gently. The massive alien leader instinctively recoiled, but something in the dog's demeanor made him pause. Bella sat calmly in front of him, her warm brown eyes looking up at his alien features with what could only be described as friendly curiosity. She wants to meet you, Elena explained softly. Bella is a therapy dog. She's trained to provide comfort to anyone in distress, regardless of species. She can sense your emotional state, and right now, she's telling me that you're not the confident leader you're pretending to be. You're concerned about making the right decision for your people, and you're questioning whether your initial judgment of humanity might have been wrong. Chancellor Vextel's form shimmered with what the translation matrix rendered as surprise. How could she possibly? I've given no indication of any uncertainty. You don't need to, Elena replied. Bella can read micro-expressions, stress pheromones, and body language cues that are universal across carbon-based life forms. But more than that, she cares. She doesn't understand politics or galactic governance or species superiority. She just knows that you're troubled, and she wants to help. The massive alien leader looked down at the golden retriever, who had somehow bridged the gap between species with nothing more than empathy and an open heart. For a moment, the vast chamber was silent except for the soft sound of Bella's breathing. This is unprecedented, Technician Zilkar whispered, his energy form flickering with amazement as he studied the readings. The emotional resonance between the human and canine. Neural patterns is creating a feedback loop that's actually affecting the ambient emotional field in this chamber. They're somehow sharing not just information, but feelings. Specialist Chun moved forward with Shadow, a sleek black Labrador whose calm demeanor belied incredible capability. You judge species based on individual merit, but you're missing the most important factor in any civilizations: development, the ability to form partnerships that transcend the limitations of any single species. As Shadow demonstrated tracking abilities, that made the aliens' most sophisticated search. Algorithms seemed primitive. The council members began to realize that they weren't just watching trained animals perform tricks. They were witnessing something that challenged their fundamental understanding of intelligence, partnership, and what it meant for a species to evolve together. These demonstrations are impressive, Commander Threx admitted, though his tone suggested he was struggling to process what he'd witnessed. But how does this address our concerns about human aggression and instability? Sarah smiled, and Max moved to her side as if he could sense what was coming next. That's exactly what makes this partnership so remarkable. You see, dogs didn't just learn from us, we learned from them. They taught us loyalty, unconditional love, sacrifice for the pack, and the difference between aggression and protection. Every human virtue you've dismissed as weakness, we learned it from our dogs. The chamber erupted in surprised chittering and rumbling as the aliens processed this revelation. The humans they had dismissed as violent and chaotic had been shaped by creatures who embodied the very qualities the galactic civilization claimed to value. But Sarah wasn't finished. As the 6 dogs arranged themselves around the human delegation in a formation that was both protective and welcoming, she prepared to deliver the revelation that would change everything the aliens thought they knew about the power of partnership. The demonstration that followed would be remembered in galactic history as the moment when the Council's understanding of intelligence and partnership was forever changed. Sarah activated a holographic display that showed complex mathematical equations floating in the air above the chamber floor. These are tactical coordination problems, she explained, as the equations shifted and evolved. Multivariable scenarios involving resource allocation, threat assessment, and strategic positioning. According to your own databases, problems of this complexity require supercomputer processing and multiple AI systems working in coordination. Luna stepped forward, Her border collie intelligence focused intently on the holographic display. Dr. Rodriguez gestured toward the equations, and something extraordinary happened. The dog began moving through the chamber, her path seeming random to the watching aliens until they realized she was tracing the optimal solution to the mathematical problem in real time. Impossible, breathed Technician Zilkar, his energy form flickering rapidly as he processed the readings. She's solving multidimensional optimization problems through movement alone. No computer interface, no neural implants, just pure biological processing. Luna isn't just solving the problem, Dr. Rodriguez explained, his voice filled with pride as the dog completed her circuit and returned to his side. She's demonstrating the solution in a way that any of her packmates can understand and replicate. Dogs evolved to solve complex problems as a team, and they can teach those solutions to other pack members through demonstration and repetition. Admiral Zorak's multiple scanning. Devices focused on the display as the equations shifted to show an even more complex scenario. Test the next problem. Our military strategists required days to solve coordination challenges of this magnitude. Rex padded forward, his Belgian Malinois training evident in the systematic way he approached the problem. But instead of working alone, he began coordinating with the other dogs. Shadow moved to cover his flanks while Bella positioned herself to monitor the aliens' reactions. Max took up a central position while Luna began calculating variables, and within minutes, they had solved a strategic problem that had challenged the galaxy's greatest military minds. They're functioning as a distributed intelligence network, Commander Threx whispered, his multiple eyes tracking the dog's movements with growing amazement. Each individual specializes in different aspects of the problem, but they're sharing information and coordinating their efforts without any technological interface. Now watch this, Sarah said softly, and she gestured toward the humans. Instantly, all 6 dogs shifted position, moving to form a protective formation around their human partners. But more than that, each human seemed to know exactly where their canine partner would be, stepping into positions that complemented the dog's movements perfectly. 12 individuals, 2 different species, functioning as a single coordinated unit, Sergeant Santos explained as Rex moved seamlessly between protection and reconnaissance modes. No radio communication, no computer coordination, no technological assistance of any kind. Just trust, training, and a bond that goes deeper than language or logic. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the humans and dogs demonstrated tactical maneuvers that seemed to flow like a choreographed dance. Each member of the team anticipated the other's movements, compensated for their limitations, and enhanced their strengths in ways that made the group exponentially more capable than any individual could be alone. This level of coordination requires quantum-entangled communication. Arrays, the Nexari representative stated, his mechanical suit scanning frantically for technological signatures. There must be hidden technology enabling this synchronization. There is, Elena agreed, kneeling beside Bella as the golden retriever leaned against her leg with absolute trust. It's called love. 15,000 years of evolution shaped by mutual dependence, shared experiences, and emotional bonds that transcend species barriers. You can't build that technology, Council members. You can only live it. Chancellor Vextel S. Crystalline form was shifting through spectrum frequencies that the humans had learned indicated deep thought. You're suggesting that emotional attachment somehow enhances combat effectiveness and problem-solving capability? This contradicts everything we understand about optimal decision-making. Does it? Sarah asked, her hand resting on Max's head as the German shepherd maintained his alert vigil. Every decision these dogs make is filtered through their absolute dedication to their pack. They don't hesitate, they don't second-guess, and they don't waste time on political considerations. They act with perfect clarity because their priority is always the same: protect and serve the pack. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward with Luna at his side. The border collie's intelligent eyes focused on the assembled aliens. You judge our species based on our conflicts and disagreements, but you miss the bigger picture. Yes, humans argue and fight and make mistakes. But when we bond with someone, whether human or canine, that bond transforms us. We become capable of selflessness, sacrifice, and coordination that surpasses any technological solution. The demonstration continued as the humans and dogs showed the aliens' coordination exercises that seemed to defy the laws of probability. 6 dogs and 7 humans moved through complex scenarios with precision that made the galaxy's most advanced military units seem clumsy by comparison. But more than their effectiveness was the joy evident in their partnership, tails wagging, humans smiling, a sense of shared purpose that radiated throughout the chamber. The emotional resonance is affecting our equipment, Technician Zilkar reported, his voice filled with wonder. The positive feedback loop between humans and canines is generating measurable changes in the local quantum field. Their partnership is literally altering reality at the subatomic level. Impossible, Admiral Zorak stated, but his tone lacked conviction as he studied readings that contradicted everything he thought he knew about consciousness and reality. Not impossible, Sarah replied, her voice carrying a confidence that made even the most skeptical aliens pay attention. Just unexpected. You've been looking for intelligence in individuals, but the real power comes from partnerships. You want to know why humanity deserves a place in the galactic community? Because we've mastered something none of you have even attempted. And what would that be? Chancellor Vextel asked, though his tone suggested he was beginning to understand the answer. We've learned how to make others better than they could ever be alone, Sarah replied, her hand moving to scratch behind Max's ears as the dog pressed against her leg with contentment. Every human you see here is more capable, more intelligent, and more effective because of their canine partner. And every dog is more than their species was ever meant to be because of their human bond. But this is just one example, the Kraxan delegate protested, though his tentacles had stopped their dismissive writhing. Surely you cannot base an entire civilization on partnership with a single species. Sarah's smile took on a quality that made several aliens shift uncomfortably. Who said it was just one species? The implications of that question would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what human civilization was truly capable of, and why underestimating humanity's gift for partnership would prove to be the greatest strategic error in galactic history. The chamber's massive communication array crackled to life as Sarah activated a quantum link to Earth. The holographic display above the council floor expanded, showing images that would fundamentally challenge everything the aliens thought they knew about human civilization. You assumed we only partnered with dogs, Sarah said as the display showed vast agricultural fields where humans worked alongside horses, their movements synchronized in perfect harmony. But partnership is what defines us as a species. The images shifted to show underwater research stations where humans worked with dolphins, the marine mammal's sonar capabilities mapping ocean floors while humans provided technological support. The aliens watched in growing amazement as they saw communication between species that seemed to transcend language itself. Dolphins, Dr. Rodriguez explained as Luna sat attentively beside him, her border collie intelligence focused on the display, have helped us understand ocean dynamics, rescue drowning humans, and even detect underwater mines during our conflicts. In return, we've protected their habitats and enhanced their natural abilities with technology they helped us design. The display shifted again, showing mountain rescue operations where humans and specially trained dogs worked alongside birds of prey, their combined aerial reconnaissance and ground tracking capabilities creating search patterns of incredible effectiveness. You speak of our primitive technology, Sergeant Santos said as Rex watched the images with what seemed like recognition, but you've missed the point entirely. We don't just build machines to solve problems, we partner with other species to create living solutions. Admiral Zorak's scanners were working frantically as he tried to process what he was seeing. These images suggest systematic cooperation across multiple species lines. Our xenobiology experts considered this theoretical at best. Theoretical? Elena laughed softly, her hand resting on Bella's golden coat. On Earth, it's simply how we live. Cats help us control pest populations while we provide them with food and shelter. Bees pollinate our crops while we protect their hives and help them thrive. Horses carry us across distances while we care for their health and needs. The chamber fell silent as the implications began to sink in. The aliens had been judging humanity based on their interactions with other sentient species. But they had completely missed the fact that humans had spent millennia learning to communicate and cooperate with dozens of different species, each partnership teaching them new lessons about coordination, trust, and mutual benefit. "The neural patterns are extraordinary," technician Zilkar whispered, his energy form flickering with excitement as he studied the quantum resonance readings from the human-dog teams in the chamber. Each partnership has created unique neural pathways that enhance both species' capabilities. The humans aren't just working with other species, they're evolving with them. Chancellor Vextel's crystalline form shimmered as he processed the revelation. "You're suggesting that your entire civilization has been shaped by interspecies partnerships?" "Not suggesting," Sarah replied firmly. "Stating. Every human virtue you've dismissed, every capability you've overlooked, every strength you've underestimated, we learned it from our partners. Dogs taught us loyalty and pack coordination. Horses taught us endurance and grace under pressure. Dolphins taught us to think in 3 dimensions and communicate without words." The display showed images of human children growing up alongside various animal partners, their development enhanced by bonds that formed before language itself. The aliens watched children learning to read emotional cues from horses, developing enhanced spatial awareness through interaction with cats, and mastering complex problem-solving by working with border collies. "This is unprecedented," Commander Threx admitted, his multiple eyes tracking the display with growing understanding. "We've been studying individual human capabilities when we should have been analyzing human partnerships. You're not a single species at all, you're a multi-species collective that's been evolving together for millennia." "Now you're beginning to understand," Dr. Rodriguez said with satisfaction. "When you scan a human settlement, you're not seeing one species trying to survive on their own. You're seeing a sophisticated ecosystem where each species contributes unique capabilities while benefiting from the collective strength." The display shifted to show human settlements where guard dogs provided security while cats controlled rodent populations, where horses provided transportation while bees ensured agricultural productivity, where dolphins helped with fishing while birds of prey provided aerial reconnaissance. Each settlement was a complex web of interspecies cooperation that made the whole far greater than the sum of its parts. "But how?" The Vorthak representative rumbled, his massive form leaning forward with unprecedented interest. "How did you develop the ability to form these bonds with such diverse species?" "Our xenobiology suggests that meaningful interspecies cooperation should be nearly impossible." Sarah knelt beside Max, her hand buried in his thick fur as the German shepherd leaned against her with complete trust. "Because we didn't start with the assumption that it was impossible. We started with the assumption that every species has something valuable to offer, and we learned to listen." "Listen?" The word seemed to puzzle several translation matrices. "Not just with our ears," Elena explained, Bella's head resting against her leg in perfect contentment. "With our hearts, our minds, our entire beings. We learned to understand body language, scent communication, emotional states, and dozens of other forms of information. Exchange that don't require spoken language." The chamber's environmental systems registered changes in atmospheric composition as the emotional resonance between humans and dogs continued to affect the local quantum field. The aliens' instruments detected harmony frequencies that their scientists had only theorized existed. "You've created something impossible," the Nexari representative said, his mechanical suit's sensors working overtime. "Multi-species consciousness networks that shouldn't be able to exist according to our understanding of neural science. Your science assumes that consciousness is limited to individual brains." Specialist Chung replied, Shadow's dark coat gleaming in the chamber's lights as the Labrador maintained perfect alertness. But consciousness isn't just about individual intelligence. It's about connection, shared experience, and mutual understanding that creates something greater than any single mind. The display showed images of humans and their animal partners working together during Earth's greatest challenges, natural disasters where dogs found survivors while dolphins guided rescue boats, conflicts where horses carried messages while birds provided reconnaissance, and exploration missions where each species contributed unique capabilities to ensure success. Every partner species taught us something essential, Sarah explained as the images continued to flow. Dogs taught us unwavering loyalty and the strength that comes from pack bonds. Horses taught us dignity, grace, and the patience needed for true partnership. Dolphins taught us that intelligence comes in many forms and that communication transcends language. And what did you teach them? Chancellor Vexthal asked, his tone suggesting genuine curiosity for the first time since the proceedings began. Sarah's smile was radiant as she looked around the chamber, taking in the sight of 6 dogs who were perfectly calm despite being surrounded by alien species that should have triggered every survival instinct they possessed. We taught them that family isn't limited by species, she replied, that love can bridge any gap, that trust can overcome any difference, and that together we could become something the galaxy has never seen before. As the full implications of humanity's multi-species civilization began to sink in, the aliens realized they weren't just considering the admission of one species to the Galactic Council. They were looking at a collective that had already solved the fundamental challenge that had plagued galactic civilization for millennia: how to achieve true cooperation between different forms of life. But the biggest revelation was yet to come, and when it arrived, it would change everything the aliens thought they knew about the future of galactic civilization. The silence in the council chamber was profound as the assembled aliens processed what they had witnessed. Centuries of assumptions about intelligence, cooperation, and civilization had been shattered in the span of a few hours. But Sarah wasn't finished yet. You want to know what makes this partnership truly remarkable? She asked, her voice carrying through the vast chamber as Max stood beside her, his dark eyes scanning the alien delegates with calm assessment. It's not just what we've accomplished together on Earth, it's what we're offering to share with the galaxy. The holographic display shifted one final time, showing images that made even the most sophisticated alien minds struggle to comprehend what they were seeing. Space stations where humans and dogs work together in zero gravity, their enhanced partnership allowing them to solve problems that had challenged spacefaring species for millennia. These are our deep space exploration teams, Dr. Rodriguez explained as Luna watched the display with the focused attention that only a border collie could maintain. Dogs' enhanced sensory capabilities allow them to detect system failures, atmospheric changes, and even gravitational anomalies that our instruments miss. In return, we provide them with the technology and life support they need to explore the cosmos alongside us. Admiral Zorak's scanners were registering readings that defied his understanding of physics. How is that creature detecting gravitational anomalies? Our most sensitive instruments require massive arrays and quantum processing. Rex here can sense changes in gravitational fields through his inner ear, Sergeant Santos replied, her hand resting on the Belgian Malinois's head as he maintained his alert posture. Evolution gave him senses we're only beginning to understand, and partnership gave him the motivation to use those senses to protect his human family, even in deep space. The display showed exploration teams discovering new worlds, with dogs providing early warning of environmental hazards while humans used technology to create safe havens for both species. Each discovery was a joint effort, each success shared between partners who had learned to think and act as a single unit. This is why we're here, Sarah said, her voice carrying a weight of purpose that resonated through the chamber. Not to ask for membership in your council, but to offer you something you've never had: true partnership. The kind of bond that doesn't just combine capabilities, but transforms them into something greater. Chancellor Vexthal's crystalline form was cycling through frequencies the humans had never seen before. You're offering to share this partnership ability with other species? We're offering more than that, Elena replied, Bella's warm presence radiating calm that somehow affected even the alien delegates. We're offering to help you discover what partnership means for your own species. Every civilization in this council has remained isolated, working alone, competing rather than cooperating. You've achieved incredible things individually, but you've never experienced the exponential growth that comes from true partnership. The implications were staggering. Species that had spent millennia developing in isolation, suddenly faced with the possibility of bonds that could enhance their natural capabilities beyond anything they had imagined. The quantum resonance patterns suggest this is possible, Technician Zilkar said, his energy form flickering with excitement. If humans can form these bonds with multiple terrestrial species, the principles could theoretically be adapted for intergalactic cooperation. Theoretically? Specialist Chun smiled, Shadow's calm presence somehow making the vast chamber feel more intimate. We've already begun the preliminary work. The display shifted to show records of the past 48 hours, humans and dogs working together to analyze the Council Station's environmental systems, identifying improvements that neither species could have developed alone. They had detected structural weaknesses, optimized life support efficiency, and even located hidden security vulnerabilities, all through the combined application of human technology and canine senses. In less than 2 days, Dr. Rodriguez continued, our teams have identified 17 ways to improve this station's operations, developed solutions for 3 long-standing technical problems, and created protocols that could enhance the safety and efficiency of every facility in the galactic network. The alien delegates exchanged what passed for glances among their various species. The humans and dogs had, in their brief time on the station, accomplished more collaborative problem-solving than the Council had achieved in decades of meetings. This is what we offer the galaxy, Sarah said, her voice carrying the conviction of someone who had seen the future and knew it was possible. Not our technology, not our military might, not our individual achievements. We offer the secret to partnership, the ability to bridge any gap, connect any difference, and create bonds that make every species stronger than they ever imagined possible. Commander Threx's multiple eyes were focused intently on the readings from his instruments. The energy signatures suggest that these partnerships create measurable changes in local spacetime. You're not just cooperating, you're actually altering reality through your bonds. Love does that, Elena said simply, her hand moving to scratch behind Bella's ears as the golden retriever's tail wagged with contentment. When beings truly care for each other, when they're willing to sacrifice for the greater good, when they choose cooperation over competition, it changes everything. The chamber fell silent as the weight of this revelation settled over the assembled aliens. They had spent eons believing that advanced civilization required individual excellence, technological superiority, and competitive advantage. But humanity had shown them something else entirely, a path to advancement through cooperation, partnership, and bonds that transcended species barriers. The vote, Chancellor Vextel said finally, his crystalline form settling into a configuration that indicated formal decision-making. All in favor of granting humanity full membership in the Galactic Council? The response was immediate and unanimous. Every species, every delegate, every representative voted in favor, not because humanity had proven their worth as individuals, but because they had demonstrated something far more valuable, the ability to make everyone around them better. As the formal ceremonies concluded and the paperwork was processed, the human delegation prepared to return to their ship. But the real work was just beginning. Over the following months, human dog teams would be stationed throughout the galaxy, teaching other species the principles of partnership that had transformed Earth. The Zephyrians learned to work with energy-sensitive organisms that enhanced their crystalline capabilities. The Kraxan discovered that certain aquatic species could amplify their natural communication abilities. The Vorthak found that partnership with smaller, more agile species allowed them to accomplish tasks Their size had made impossible, but perhaps the most profound change came in the council chambers themselves. Where once there had been competition and mistrust, partnerships began to form between species that had been rivals for millennia. The humans and their dogs had done more than join the galactic community. They had shown the galaxy how to become a true family. Years later, when historians tried to identify the moment when galactic civilization truly began to flourish, they would point to the day when aliens mocked humans for their apparent weaknesses, only to discover that humanity's greatest strength was their ability to turn any species, any being, any individual into family. And in a galaxy that had forgotten what family meant, that gift was more valuable than any technology, more powerful than any weapon, and more transformative than any discovery in the history of the cosmos. The dogs, of course, had known this all along. They had spent 15,000 years teaching humans that love, loyalty, and partnership could overcome any obstacle. Now they would have the chance to teach the same lessons to the stars themselves.